You walk down the grocery store aisle. Bright fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Perfect rows of plastic packages surround you. Everything you could ever want to eat is right there in front of you. You grab a brightly colored box of cereal off the shelf. You are feeding your body a comfortable lie. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors did not have aisles. They had the earth. And they ate vastly better than you do right now. Today, you are told to eat a balanced diet. You hear constantly about the food pyramid, macronutrients, and strict calorie counting. It all sounds so incredibly scientific. But your body's not a modern machine. Your biology was entirely forged in the Paleolithic era. You are a prehistoric creature navigating a deeply unnatural modern food landscape. So what happens if we strip away the plastic packaging? What if you had to eat exactly like a hunter-gatherer today? Would you survive? Would you starve? Or would you finally feel completely alive? Let us look at the ancient evidence. The popular image of the caveman diet is just a wild man gnawing on a giant hunk of bloody meat. It is a masculine, aggressive fantasy. But the archaeological record tells a completely different story. Look at the groundbreaking research of anthropologist Richard Lee. In 1968, he published a landmark study on the Kungsan people of the harsh Kalahari Desert. He found something that completely shocked the modern world. Their diet was not predominantly meat at all. It was heavily plant-based. They ate roasted mongongo nuts, bitter roots, and wild melons. Meat was a rare luxury, not a daily guarantee. Why does this matter? Because it completely shatters the illusion of the meat-heavy caveman. Your ancient ancestors were ultimate opportunists. They ate whatever their specific local environment offered them on any given day. Sometimes that was a massive, dangerous, woolly mammoth. More often, it was a handful of tough tubers and seasonal greens. Consider the stunning discoveries emerging from Blombos Cave on the southern coast of South Africa. Archaeologists digging through the deep, ancient sediment found something that changed our entire understanding of human evolution. They found the discarded shells of massive marine mollusks, ancient fish bones, and the shattered remains of seals. The early humans living there roughly 70,000 years ago had unlocked a completely different dietary code. They were eating incredibly rich, dense seafood. They were flooding their growing brains with omega-3 fatty acids. This coastal diet provided the incredible nutritional fuel required for advanced cognitive development. It gave them the excess energy to create complex tools, to paint with red ochre, and to think in abstract symbols. Your incredibly complex, energy-hungry brain was literally built by this ancient dietary diversity. But the secret of the ancient human diet is not one specific magical food. It is extreme adaptability. Look at the stable isotope analysis conducted on Neanderthal bones found at Vindija Cave in modern-day Croatia. Scientists examined the ancient chemical signatures permanently locked inside their skeletons. The nitrogen levels in those bones were incredibly high. They were so unbelievably high that they rivaled the levels found in apex predators like wolves and hyenas. In the frozen, harsh environment of Ice Age Europe, massive amounts of meat were absolutely necessary for baseline survival. Plant life was mostly non-existent. You adapt or you die. Consider the incredibly revealing work of evolutionary anthropologist Herman Ponzer. He spent years living with and deeply studying the Hadza tribe in remote Tanzania. The Hadza are one of the very last remaining true hunter-gatherer populations on Earth. Ponzer precisely measured their daily energy expenditure using advanced scientific tracking. He found that despite their incredibly active and physically demanding lifestyle, they burn roughly the exact same number of calories every single day as a modern sedentary office worker. How is that even biologically possible? Your body is an evolutionary marvel of supreme efficiency. It dynamically adjusts its energy output to keep you alive when food is scarce. It quietly shuts down background inflammation and non-essential functions to conserve precious fuel. When you eat a prehistoric diet, you are not just changing your food. You are completely changing the fundamental metabolic rhythm of your existence. So let us deeply reconstruct a single day of ancient eating. You wake up when your body is naturally ready. You feel a deep, intense physical hunger in your stomach. You do not panic. You step out into the crisp morning air. You walk. You walk for miles across the vast open landscape. You meticulously scan the brush for edible leaves and hidden roots. You dig into the hard, unyielding earth with a sharpened wooden stick. Your hands get covered in dark dirt. You are intimately and physically connected to the absolute source of your survival. You finally find a patch of wild tubers. They are highly fibrous, incredibly tough, and slightly bitter on your tongue. They are absolutely nothing like the soft, sugary engineered potatoes sitting safely at your local supermarket. You chew them for a very long time. Your jaw muscles work incredibly hard. The physical effort sends a vital signal through your entire biological system. This intense mechanical effort is exactly why prehistoric humans had broader faces and perfectly straight teeth. The physical act of chewing tough, wild foods directly stimulated bone growth in the human jaw. There was always enough room for every single tooth to come in perfectly straight. Look at the skeletal remains found at the famous archaeological site of Abu Huraira in modern-day Syria. The ancient hunter-gatherers buried deep in the dirt there had pristine, completely cavity-free teeth. But then, something massive shifted in the world above them. The people who lived at that exact same site just a few thousand years later, immediately after the invention of farming, had mouths full of utter rot. They had severe, painful dental decay and violently misaligned jaws. Why did their health and completely collapse? Because they started eating grain. They started eating domesticated, soft, cooked carbohydrates. Their jaws shrank, but their teeth did not. Agriculture was a beautiful, devastating trap. We modern humans deeply believe that farming saved us from endless starvation. But biological anthropologist Jaron Dunn famously called agriculture the worst mistake in the history of the human race. When your ancient ancestors finally settled down to farm wheat, corn, on, and bulla, their diets narrowed completely. They traded rich, vibrant, nutritional diversity for reliable, monotonous, empty calories. They physically became shorter. They became substantially sicker. They suffered from widespread malnutrition and entirely new infectious diseases born from living closely with livestock. They traded the vibrant, wildly varied prehistoric buffet for a sad daily bowl of plain porridge. Think about your own plate today. You are eating the extreme, hyper-processed endpoint of that catastrophic agricultural mistake. You consume heavily refined sugars, chemically bleached flours, and industrialized seed oils that your prehistoric body does not even intuitively recognize as actual food. When you eat a modern donut or a bowl of sweet cereal, your pancreas frantically floods your system with insulin to handle the unnatural sugar spike. Your gut microbiome, completely starved of the diverse wild fibers it evolved over millennia to process, begins to weaken and rapidly die off. You feel inexplicably tired after eating a simple lunch. You feel anxious. You are constantly uncomfortably hungry, even when you are massively overfed. You are experiencing a profound evolutionary mismatch. Your biological hardware is over 300,000 years old, but your dietary software update was downloaded yesterday from a brightly lit fast food menu. If you actually switch back to a true, uncompromised prehistoric diet today, the physical transition would be absolutely brutal. Your highly sensitive modern gut would violently rebel against the massive influx of rough, insoluble wild fiber. You would experience intense, physically shaking sugar withdrawals. You would deeply miss the effortless instant dopamine of a cheap chocolate bar. But after a few very difficult weeks, something completely incredible would happen inside you. The heavy, lingering brain fog would finally lift. Your wildly fluctuating energy levels would perfectly stabilize into a steady, unbreakable hum. Your artificially hijacked palate would reset completely. A simple, tart, wild berry would suddenly taste like the richest, sweetest dessert you have ever experienced in your life. You would feel a profound, quiet physical strength returning to your limbs. You would no longer be a passive, helpless consumer of empty modern calories. You would become an active, thriving participant in your own ancient biology. Of course, you cannot perfectly replicate the Paleolithic diet today, even if you desperately tried. The actual wild plants and massive animals your ancestors ate literally no longer exist on this planet. They have been entirely bred out of existence by thousands of years of intense human domestication. A modern shiny red apple is essentially a giant water balloon of sugar compared to its incredibly tart, tiny, fibrous wild ancestor. Even the expensive meat you buy from a grass-fed cow is vastly fattier and softer than the extremely lean, tough muscle of ancient wild game. We have engineered the wildness completely out of our food supply. But you can absolutely adopt the powerful prehistoric philosophy. You can consciously choose to eat a massive variety of whole, unprocessed plants. You can seek out high-quality lean proteins. You can completely eliminate the refined sugars that are actively rotting your teeth and deeply confusing your ancient metabolism. You can actively choose to chew your food. You wait to actually earn your hunger instead of feeding it instantly. You can remember that beneath your modern clothes, you are still a wild animal built for a wild, demanding world. You walk down the grocery store aisle. Bright fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Perfect rows of plastic packages surround you. But now you know exactly what your body is starving for.